As most of you know, we're doing a series on technicians and the need of the industry to help turn it around so that we can fill and retain our valuable technicians. Today we're going to title this call Tech Time. Don't get that confused with Tool Time, that old TV show. But we're going to look at some real significant waste of technician time and what we can do to resolve it. First of all, the winter creates quite a bit of challenges for technicians. In many shops, we're still having the technicians go out, de-snow the vehicle, find it, put the snow off of it, bring it in, and they might have cases where the vehicle starts to melt and then turns into rain showers or clumps of salty snow dropping on the technician's head. We need to look at this process, and technicians really shouldn't be involved in doing any of that. We look at staffing issues, and we might have production people like technicians, and we have advisors and hopefully porters. But there's a real cost here to have technicians involved in that. Let's look at the medical field and compare. And I often use the medical field as good examples of how to control and improve technician efficiency. In the medical field, could you imagine if you had your surgeon walk out and do a patient prep or check in the patient for the paperwork side of the insurance costs? It just wouldn't happen. Why do dealerships allow so much technician time to be lost? Parts departments. So many dealerships today still have the technicians stop what they're doing, walk over to the parts department, stand in line, waiting for the parts person to get off the phone or get to their need and look up their stuff. Then they'll track the advisor down and so they go find price and availability, find the advisor, and they inform him or her that this vehicle needs this, here's the price and availability on the parts, and here's how many hours I need, and then they walk back to their bay and wait for the approval or go to the next vehicle, whatever that is. Why in the world are we doing business that way? So we're tying up a productive technician, reducing their efficiency. Most of their compensation is flat rate based, and we're putting weight ankle bracelets on, and we're throwing all these curveballs in to reduce their availability to generate hours. We also have many shops today that have restricted computer access. The shop may have 2 computers and 8 techs, or 3 computers and 10 techs. And we say, that's sufficient. We don't want to spend any more money there. So the technicians line up for use of the equipment. Or we have 1 balance machine, and that's another example of an operation that many shops don't even recommend anymore. I'm appalled to go around and see that we might do 1,200 oil changes, and we might do 300 rotations, and yet we would only do 5 balance jobs. Well, why are we not recommending that operation? But when we come down to use of equipment, and we're tying time up, or we're letting techs wait, or We've only got rotor machines that don't work, or occasionally they work, or they're waiting for this option, or they're waiting for that option, or they've got a technician doing a software update on one side of the shop and there's no access to do it on the other side of the shop. This kind of loss of time amazes me. And we allow it thinking that the dealership is saving something. It's all loss. There's no savings in having poor equipment or not enough equipment to do a real fine repair. We look at scheduling. Many times shops today, if I ask the manager, how many technician hours do you have sold for tomorrow? And the advisor has no idea. In a nutshell, they might say, well, I've got 18 appointments. Well, how many tech hours are sold of that? And how many tech hours are available? And if you don't know the answer to that, you're wrong. You need to have this information. Why would you do that and have flat rate technicians standing around generating no money because we had, out of those 18, 15 were oil changes and 2/10 an hour recalls? We have to estimate the amount of hours we're selling on the schedule. There are real good programs out there. ShopWatch is one of them that helps control what time's available and help utilize all of it to maximize the amount of tech hours the shop is turning. And if you're one of those dealerships that just put so many appointments down until the schedule looks reasonable by a visual sight, or you're counting cars, there's going to be many days you have technicians standing around at a certain time of the day. It's unacceptable in today's environment. And then we wonder why we have trouble keeping or retaining technicians. When you have all of these things start stacking against you in your shop and your technicians to turn time, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to address this technician shortage nationally when the vast majority of our shops are giving them so little considerations? We need to update technician time availability often. It should be an ongoing, real-time thing. And in the farm, their crop is corn or wheat or whatever the crop is. In this business, our crop, our commodity, is technician hours. We can't store them. We can't refrigerate them. If you don't use the time available, it is a loss. Why in the world do we want technicians removing snow from vehicles? Why do we want technicians getting clumps of ice and snow and debris falling on them? Update the times. Schedule. Time estimate. How many hours are available for tomorrow? How many hours are sold for tomorrow? Ideally, you want to have at least a shop that is 80% pre-sold. Now, it might be, if you're not doing anything at this time, it might be that number is 70%. But you need to manage the technician time available and the technician time sold to have a prosperity on the shop. You might be thinking, oh, this stuff will all cost too much. Well, we're going to go through some of that. First of all, let's look at what a technician can generate if they're wrenching. Because a technician that's removing snow or pulling vehicle in or preparing and getting estimates is generating no revenue. But let's look if they're wrenching, what kind of revenue a technician is generating. I believe it's reasonable to say per hour a technician that's working is going to generate $100 in labor sales. And the other side of that, they're going to generate about $100 in parts sales. So they're going to produce revenue for service of $200 an hour. Now, if you looked at that and said, how many hours do we need to save a month to pay for a porter or to pay for a computer access in the shop, better computer access? You see how crazy it is? So we're going to save $10 an hour on a porter, and we're going to lose $200 in revenue an hour. The real cost for the service department is not to do these things. It's not to pay attention to how many hours. It's the snow removal, computers, equipment, lack of scheduling. Remember, we can't refrigerate or store technician time. The better we use it, the better off our revenue is. And that old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. Man, is that tied into this. The cost is not to do it. My hope is that you'll invest in making your shop the most efficient. The dealer that pays attention to these things is going to attract and retain the technician talent you need. Right now, I'm going to continue this series on technicians because it is a crisis in the service industry. And we're going to need to really focus in on these benefits and these costs. Because if we look at the United States today and realize we need 30,000 technicians across the country right now, in the future it's going to get worse. You're going to be a dealership that has technician staff or that doesn't. Which do you want to be? You want to be thinking these things are costs and you're not going to do it in your shop? You're going to need technicians and you're not going to retain the techs you have. We need to be creative and innovative and step out ahead of the industry. Realize the need, realize the importance of our technicians and the amount of revenue that they can generate for themselves, their families, and our dealership. We realize that importance. That's the ultimate win-win. Thanks for your time today, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. We'll continue this series on technicians next week. Take care and bye for now.
Hi, are you struggling to increase your service department's effective labor rate? Many dealerships today are. We can help you with our proven process and years of experiences. My team has been through all that you face today. We have found solutions for even the largest problems, such as employees that are not team players, no one updating the customer on the completion time of their vehicle, no walkarounds being performed at all, and worst of all, shrinking profit margins. Fixed Performance is the solution you've been looking for. We will take your service department to the next level of performance by increasing your customer retention, turning your staff into a team, and best of all, maximizing your effective labor rate. So let me ask you, what are you waiting for? Give us a call today at 888-205-8718. Fix Performance, where we have total commitment to your team's excellence.